I'm pretty curious as to why the Biden administration is so defensive on being questioned about defending the Israeli government and supplying them with arms and money. Is it because the Biden administration knows that the Israeli government is committing a genocide? And if they actually admit that they support it, that they will look bad for it?
Check, you have a long foreign policy experience. So if you look back, do you think that Berhagen Netanyahu and his extremist government, including an openly racist member like Ben Gavir, supplying them with lethal weapons that killed 70% of women and children, excluding the defensive weapons, was it successful? And do you believe that American national security now is at risk, as we heard some testimony yesterday at Congress, because of the war, how was it conducted?
So,
One thing I gotta say is, how can Biden claim to be in support of women's rights when he also supports the Israeli government murdering innocent women?
what I didn't hear at all in your question was anything about Hamas, who conducted a
Because the question wasn't about Hamas. It was about the Biden administration supplying the Israeli government the weapons.
grievous attack on October 7th that,
Hamas, with
that
due respect,
killed.
I'm asking you here.
Yeah, but
These people, they just love to deflect. Deflect. Oh, hey, you guys support, Palestinians not dying, but you're also giving the Israeli government weapons. What do you say about that? Well, Hamas. Dude, this isn't about Hamas. This is about the Biden administration giving weapons to the Israeli government, who are then using those weapons to murder innocent civilians.
If I'm there, but I'm asking you here as a national security advisor.
but what has been the purpose of our policy since October 7th? A fundamental part of our policy since October 7th has been to help Israel defend itself against a group that authored the worst massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust, and have.
But how does giving the Israeli government weapons to kill innocent people, the Israeli government defending itself, the Israeli government starving millions of Palestinians self-defense? How is the Israeli government killing Israeli hostages self-defense? And what about the IDF going into the West Bank, murdering Palestinians and taking their land? How is that self-defense? What about the 12-year-old that was just murdered by the IDF in Jerusalem and praised by the security minister? How is that self-defense?
Had its leaders go out after that and say, we're going to do October 7th again and again and again until Israel no longer exists.
Yeah, and the Israeli government has been doing multiple October 7th against innocent Palestinians, and somehow that is supposed to be okay because they think it's okay to collectively punish innocent Palestinian kids.
And from our perspective, Israel had a right and an obligation to take action against Hamas. And Hamas created a set of burdens on Israel's military operations that are nearly unprecedented by hiding among the civilian population.
Yeah, this old excuse over and over again. Hamas hides amongst the civilian population, so the Israeli government has to murder innocent civilians. Like, no, that's not a justification whatsoever.
And that made it more difficult for Israel to conduct its military operations. It did not take away Israel's responsibility to take.
I mean, it's not like the Israeli government cares if they break international law or not. That's why they got over 140 illegal settlements in the West Bank and over 700,000 illegal Israeli terrorists living in the West Bank as well. It's also why the Israeli government has no qualms with killing journalists.
Take every possible step to protect innocent people, and far too many innocent people, including women and children, died. And the president spoke to this, I thought, quite powerfully on Thursday night. And we are very mindful of it. And every one of those deaths is a tragedy. And we have said Israel has to do more when it comes to the protection of civilians. And we've spoken today at some length about Rafah.
It doesn't matter if Biden talks to uh, BB Hitler about murdering one less baby or something like that, when the right-wing Israeli government does not care what any other nation says. Anytime any other nation tries to speak out against the Israeli government, all the Israeli government does is accuse that person or government or organization of being anti-Semitic. Because when you're against a genocide by the Israeli government, that automatically makes you anti-Semitic in some way.
But I do feel it is important to continue to ensure that this conversation, this story, is complete, that all elements of it are brought into the picture and not just some. And that does mean paying attention to the suffering of innocent people, not just their vulnerability to the military actions of Israel, but also their vulnerability to a lack of food, water, medicine, shelter. And these are things that we work on around the clock.
I mean, if the United States actually cared about Palestinians starving in Gaza, they wouldn't be continually giving the Israeli government funds and money and continually defending their actions. I mean, imagine if the Biden administration was defending Russia committing genocide against the Ukrainian people, as well as helping the Ukrainians defend themselves by giving them money and arms, but also, money to Putin. It wouldn't make any sense. You would obviously be able to tell that they actually support one side over the other.
These are things I personally stay awake at night about. So I care about this very much. But I also care about making sure that our partner and ally Israel is not facing in the future the kind of threat that it faced on October 7th. And our country and any country.
Well, if the Israeli government doesn't want to continually face a threat by Hamas, well, Bibi Netanyahu and the Israeli government can stop funding Hamas and start supporting the Palestinian Authority, which, supports a two-state solution, while Hamas just supports a one-state solution like the Israeli government. So when you got two groups that only support a one-state solution, they're going to continually be fighting. But that is the reason why Netanyahu likes to support Hamas, because it gives them a reason to continually fight and murder Palestinians, claiming that they all just want a one-state solution, when that is far from the truth.
In this circumstance, would take action against terrorists doing this kind of thing. And the president has said from the beginning of
I'm curious as to why the United States isn't against the terrorism of the Israeli government when the IDF in Israeli settlers armed and funded by the Israeli government, who goes out and murders people and take their land. Why aren't they considered like terrorists? Why aren't they punished? I mean, you had Biden who put sanctions on 4 Israeli settlers for violence and the murder of a Palestinian American, but nothing else.
this conflict, both that we need to support Israel in its efforts to go after Hamas, and that Israel needs to do so in a way that protects innocent civilians. And he has spoken out about his concern.
Another question I have, why aren't Palestinians allowed the right to self-defense? Somehow it is only Israeli government that has the right to self-defense. But if innocent Palestinians want to defend themselves from an occupying force, they don't have that right. They're automatically considered a terrorist for even thinking about it.
Concerns about the protection of innocent civilians with sincerity and authority, and I think you saw